Welcome to Cody in the Cinema. Today I'm discussing some British films from the Criterion Collection that I believe you should have in your collection, particularly if you're new to the collection or you're new to British films within the collection. When I was first starting out, I would have loved to have some of these ideas, and some of these were some of the early films I really enjoyed anyway within the collection. So the very first thing you should be doing, in my opinion, is you should be looking at Michael Powell films. Okay, there are a number of Michael Powell films in the collection. A lot of times he worked with Emmerich Pressburger. The most recent of these that has a 4K that kind of tanked that director's career because of how risque it was is Peeping Tom. This was about a cameraman who was going around and killing people and recording it, and it is kind of a precursor to a lot of modern day serial killer movies. But there are some that aren't quite that dark. There are things like Black Narcissus here. It's about some nuns in the Himalayan mountains. The Red Shoes, you may have heard of that. That's a very famous example that Martin Scorsese also really liked. So there are a number of Michael Powell films. I would pick one of those and start there if I had to start anywhere within the collection as far as British films go. So definitely check out Michael Powell. Watch all of his films. And you definitely want to have some Alfred Hitchcock, from the collection. One really good recommendation here from him would just be Notorious, with Claude Rains, Ingrid Bergman, and Cary Grant. It's again, anytime you're talking about Alfred Hitchcock, the collection, those two things work really well together. This is about a Nazi who's hiding, and there's some spy work going on, and it's kind of dark within the canon of Hitchcock. I really suggest you pick up something like Notorious. I also think you need a Shakespeare. I just dropped all of my physical media. Whoops. You really need a Shakespeare. So I love Laurence Olivier, and I think he's just brilliant in Richard III. This is my favorite Shakespeare play, and it's absolutely gorgeous in Technicolor. And if you think you don't know a whole lot of Shakespeare plays, if you happen not to, this one is just like, he just enjoys playing this evil character as Richard III, who does everything he needs to rise to the top. In addition, it has Claire Bloom in it, who has shown up in a number of different movies like this. So I think you're going to really enjoy Richard III, and that would be a good place to start. There's some other out-of-print things, such as Hamlet, and I believe that Henry V, one of those I'm wanting to say is in the collection. So I believe in general, you're going to be well served to check out all of the Shakespeare within the Criterion Collection. Another individual recommendation that I think would be great for folks, if you're looking for something psychological that's maybe a little bit supernatural, that is a little bit, kind of features a couple, you might want Donald Sutherland and Julie Christie, who are in this movie Don't Look Now. And I did not love Don't Look Now the first time I was watching it, and now I'm really into it. So they have a horrible family accident that happens early on that influences their entire life. And it's set in Venice. It is a gorgeous piece of cinematography, great acting between the two. And it kind of it's sort of like a horror movie, but it's not like strictly horror, okay? Don't Look Now is something you might want to look into. But if you're talking other than Michael Powell movies, for me, the gold standard of all British cinema in the collection has always been and will always be this movie, The Third Man. And I talk about this fairly regularly on my channel, but in this film, there's kind of the idea is that there's a novelist, and he's writing kind of generic novels. They aren't super sophisticated. And that idea is even made fun of in the film, I think. But he goes to Vienna after the war, and everything's a mess. And he's trying to work with an old friend named Harry Lime. And it just becomes this cat and mouse. He can't find the guy, and he's wandering throughout the streets. It's a classic black and white noir. Like, I think it really plays on the strengths of the director, Sir Carol Reed. And gosh, it's a good movie. This is one of Roger Ebert's favorite movies. I think he even said this might be his favorite. And sometimes I talk about the great openings in movie history, the great character openings. Behind me, there's a picture of The Searchers. Ethan Edwards writing onto this homestead is a great opening. If you're talking silent films, I have been referring to The King of Kings. The introduction of Christ in that movie is just brilliant. And there are so many great openings of characters in films. The Third Man has one of the best character reveals like this I've ever seen, maybe the best one. Again, the film makes great use of black and white shadows. Like, it's just a perfect British movie that you should see. So those are some of the ones that I picked right off the shelf that immediately came to mind if you don't have a lot of ideas or you're pretty new to the Criterion Collection and you want to look at some British stuff. And in general, if you were just looking for ideas for British films, I think all of that is going to be something that's worth seeing, that you would enjoy, and there are obviously more. Those were just some that I picked up. So for those of you who already have other ideas, you should please leave your thoughts in the comments. If you agree or disagree with any of my selections, please let me know. If you liked the video and found it to be helpful, if you could do me a favor and click the like button. It does help grow the channel, and subscribe, because I cover lots of Criterion Collection related stuff, and I think you'll find more content on here that you'll enjoy, concerning the Criterion Collection in general. And yeah, thanks again. See you next time, Cody in the Cinema.